Good start.
I'm just going to give them 1 minute. I see participants joining, so let me just wait till that goes up a little bit.
Joanne coming on?
She's on, Eric.
She's on? Oh, there she is. Okay.
All right, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for coming on. We're at 60, 62. We just want to give it 2 more minutes, maybe less. Looks like that might be it. And I think we are going to have a copy of this later. So I want to thank everyone for coming on. This is Senator Vin Gopal. We had some constituent concerns on the smell from Nylabone facility. So we've got a group of folks here that are going to try the best to answer some questions. We want to make sure the communication is really in a good place. I want to thank all the participants. I also want to thank Nylabone too. They couldn't be here today because I basically gave them this date and this date didn't work, but I really wanted to make sure we had our DEP officials here, and didn't want to wait till the holidays, but Nylabone has been very gracious. We're going to do something again with them, hopefully in either November or early December. But they have been gracious in that they're going to work to try to get back to everybody's question here, if anybody has specific questions again for them. Because of the constituent concerns we're getting, I really thought it was important that we had DEP here, and so this October 7th date was the one that worked for the 3 or 4 officials for DEP. Director Arnone also wanted to be here. He had a commitment, but he has his health commissioner for the county here, Chris Merkel. So I want to thank Chris for being here, and I want to thank Mayor Wardell for also being here, as well as Council President Calhoun. Both have been extremely responsive. It's been great. I know that this is, we've been pushing to get this done, and I know everybody would like to try to help in many issues, and it's not a black and white area. And I know the town has been working on this, the county's been working on this, and DEP has been working on this. Director Arnone and I, along with Assembly members Hotelling and Downey, did a similar effort with the Monmouth County Reclamation Center, and we were really able to try to get some questions answered and really tried to help. And to the credit of the county turning around some things on that, especially on the communication end. I don't think there's been any concerns, at least I haven't heard any when I'm talking to residents over these last 6 months at the Reclamation Center. So hopefully we can get to a similar place with the Nylabone. I know it all goes based on the wind, and it goes based on different things. I've gotten to meet some of the employees at Nylabone who are really great, hardworking, and so I think we're going to get to a good place. So I want to thank everybody for participating in this, especially the town, the county, the state. We have the Assistant Commissioner of Economic Development for DEP, Elizabeth Draganon. We have the Director of the Office of Air Enforcement and the Director of Local Government Assistance. And again, for those agencies that we may not have, because I know there was a question might have come in for DCA as for coding, they're not on here. We're going to try to gather this, and this isn't going to be a one-time thing. We want to do this throughout the next 6, 7 months and really try to get everybody in a good place and just know we're all working together to try to do this. So again, my thanks to everybody. If you're not able to send in questions prior to today's event, you can send in your question now. We have people looking it over. The email is help@njld11.com. Again, that's help@njld11.com. I got someone commenting no sound. Is that Michelle? We got sound? Can everybody else hear me? Yes, you can hear me? Okay, great.
I can hear.
Okay, yeah, so I'm not sure that gentleman who commented saying no sound from Tom, so just check. Great. So please, again, that email help@njld11. We have a list of prepared questions from residents who submitted before the webinar started. And if we don't get to your question by the end of this hour session, please email it in. And again, know that this is just the beginning of these community forums. It's important that we all communicate together and that we all try to work through these different issues. So I'm going to turn it over. And again, at any point during this forum, if the mayor, the council president, DEP, the assembly members want or I'm sorry, Mr. Merkel, anyone wants to chime in on any of these, feel free, but they are questions designated to different areas. So I'm going to start. Charlie works for the District 11 office for Assembly Members Hotelling Downey, and he's going to moderate today's questions. Again, thank you everyone for participating, and this will hopefully be the start that we can all get to a good place, because we all want the same thing, is just to live with a good neighbor, which we believe they are, and we just let's see what we can do to make sure we all get there, so the quality of life is where it needs to be. So go ahead, Charlie.
Thank you, Senator. And as you mentioned, if you were not able to send in questions before today's event, you can send your questions over at help@njld11.com. Again, that's help@njld11.com. And we'll make sure to forward your questions along to the proper department, if not just in this Q&A. So the first questions we're going to start off with are for Mayor Wardell and the Township of Neptune City. Can you just provide insight onto the land use history regarding Nylabone? And more specifically to that, when did the use of the building change from a bookbinding and collating company to the injection mold nylon dog bone company?
Well, first of all, I want to thank the DEP and Board of Health here. When I sent a letter a few months ago to the DEP and Board of Health, asking them if they could do a forum like this for my residents so they could hear from us. Carrie and I spoke at length, and I appreciate the time she gave me. And I also appreciate the center and the rest of LD11 for putting this time together and giving my residents a chance to ask these questions that that have been posed to me and my governing body multiple times. And it's nice to be able to reach out to people at the state who may have more information they can provide to us, because I do believe that every single one of us in Neptune City is looking for the same thing. We're looking for a resolution that is amicable to both sides here. TFH I believe wants to be a good neighbor. They have made efforts in the past here. Maybe there's a bit of a disconnect between the town and TFH, but I'm hoping we can rebuild that bond and have them as good neighbors again. Charlie, if you could, the question was, I believe it was about the history with Nylabone and land use.
Yes, more specifically, sir, when did the use of the building change from a bookbinding and collating company to the injection mold dog bone factory that now Nylabone?
I don't have an exact date of when that took place. I do know that the last I remember of them actually doing bookbinding was the early 2001. I believe is when they fully, I mean, I know they had been kind of phasing it out, even as early as like the mid 1980s, as far as our records show, that they were doing both. And I think as Nylabone began to grow, they began to kind of phase out the TFH portion, where the tropical fishing and hunting magazines they put out. But I don't have a specific date of when they stopped doing the bookbinding altogether, so I couldn't really answer that accurately.
Absolutely. And Council President Calhoun, do you have anything to add at all? You are muted, sir.
Sorry about that. No, I have nothing to add. I think the mayor stated that in meetings previously.
Great. And the next question we have, unless anyone from DEP or anyone would like to contribute to this question, is the current site for Nylabone zone for
Charlie, I'm
manufacturing?
sorry, if just for the mayor, council president, is there a way just to get back to that residence? There's a way just to research from the town.
Yeah, we can
Yes.
research that. I mean, that question would probably be best answered of the the land use board themselves, as opposed to me. So I'll reach out to the land use board secretary and see if she can give me a finite date. Because again, I don't know if they ever submitted to the town to say, we're not doing this anymore, we're going to do this now, because it never really changed under their non-conforming use, whether or not they did book bindings or they did their Nylabone products. So at no point did they have to say, this is what we're doing. So I don't know if I can give you a specific date for that, but I will try.
If it's possible, Charlie. If you
Yeah,
don't mind
I will
just getting-
certainly look into it.
Absolutely.
If you can just get Charlie, just get the town, that constituent's contact info, or Michelle. Thank you.
Absolutely. Sure. And the next question we have for either the mayor, Council President Calhoun, and obviously if the senator or any of the other members on this board would like to contribute, please feel free. Is the current site for Nylabone zoned for manufacturing at this moment?
Well, yes and no. The zoning, if you looked at just the zoning as it falls under commercial industrial, I may not use the word manufacturing, but in the mid 80s, Nylabone, actually even the company before that property was purchased, was given special non-conforming use, basically a variance in order to manufacture. I believe that was in spring of 1986 is when that actually took place here. The documents that I saw said that in 1986, the 69,000 plus square foot unit will now be used for the purpose of storage and manufacturing of Nylabone products.
Okay. And to that point, and kind of leading from that question, was Nylabone receiving approval from the land use board to do these things?
Well, at the time, it wasn't called the land use board. It was the zoning land adjustment board, I believe is what it called. Yeah, according to the documents that I have, that was given, they were given a non-conforming use in 1986.
And this question is more concerning of like working with the residents of the town. Will you and the township government work with the Neptune City Homeowners Association to try to address any of the concerns that they have regarding the Nylabone facility, anything regarding all the issues that they have?
Well, we work with any residents who come up and have any concerns here. You know, as far as the homeowner association, when in 2019, I remember this date correctly, it was my last year serving on council. Residents have been coming with some of these concerns have been coming. This is not new. You know, this is since I've been on the governing body for 5 years, these concerns have been brought numerous times. Sometimes they seem to be more common than others. In 2019, our then attorney, a man by the name of Greg Cannon, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with Mr. Cannon, he's also a councilman, I believe, in Aberdeen, in the town he's in. And Mr. Cannon, to his credit, probably did one of the more thorough investigations as to what the town can do from a legal standpoint. You know, he met with TFH officials, with their attorneys, spoke with people at the state, numerous things. And Mr. Cannon's finding was that the municipality has done everything that they can do within the confines of the law. What Mr. Cannon had suggested to the residents, as we've seen other things like, you know, the group Rain, that was, you know, the group of private citizens that was successful in getting matters done when the town is kind of confined, that they may have more latitude, so to speak, maybe a little more ability to do things that we can't because we're confined by certain laws as a governing body. And to their credit, they formed this homeowners association to do that, but it was formed to be a private organization that would go and do things that maybe the governing body wouldn't do. It's not that Neptune City won't work with a homeowners association. There's things that we can, and there's things that we can't do. You know, so there may be things that they may want us to do that we just simply can't. And that's how I'm being advised by my attorney to not do. You know, my time in governing body, we've had 4 different borough attorneys. Each one has stated the same thing. Here's what you can, and here's what you can't do. So, I mean, by all means, if it's something we can do, we would never say no to any of our residents. None of our residents would ever be denied help. That's really the main reason I think most of us got into government, so we could help people. I think every single one of us has a desire to help people. You know, the homeowner association, you know, it's a private organization. It's not a town recognized organization. It doesn't fall under the umbrella of the borough here. And so therefore, you know, they're treated as the same as any other private citizen who comes with any type of questions or concerns. You know, we try to do the best that we can. You know, I know everybody, including myself, has done everything that I can to this point here. And, you know, that's why I'm kind of glad we're having this opportunity that they'll be able to ask questions of the DEP, of the Board of Health, and also our legislators to see, you know, if there's anything that can be done at a higher level. Because, you know, according to every attorney that we've had, we've exhausted all of our resources. And that's where I think the root of our frustration comes from.
Great, and thank you for clarifying that. And City Council President Calhoun, would you like to add anything to that at all? Would your organization work with Town Council work to address the concerns of the Neptune City Homeowners Association?
I have listened to the residents' concerns. I will continue to do so, and I welcome the opportunity. I reiterate everything the mayor said.
Great, thank you so much, sir. And the next question I'll have to add to that, does the Nylabone business and other local operations, do they conform to the local ordinances concerning noise and smell?
Well, I mean, everybody in town is to conform under nobody's above the law in Neptune City, or an ordinance is municipal law. As far as we don't have an odor ordinance, I know a lot of our residents have pointed to a 1951 ordinance. It's not really an ordinance, it's a guideline for an odor ordinance. No odor ordinance was ever adopted here in Neptune City. You know, we've deferred to use the county board of health, who is I guess an arm of the Department of Environmental Protection. Excuse me, I'm just saying DEP, a lot easier. An arm of the DEP that would handle this here. So we don't have an ordinance. You know, I can't enforce an ordinance that's not on the books here. As far as noise, absolutely. If it's a violation, you know, we have certain hours, it's different hours on the weekends than it is during the week. If somebody is exceeding the allowed decibel level between, you know, any time of those hours, then of course it'll be enforced. However, at the same time, if it's not reported, there's really nothing we can do about it. I've seen numerous times where people make complaints on social media, but unfortunately that can't be dealt with. I've often encouraged my residents to call the police. And many times they feel that they don't want to annoy or be a nuisance to our police. And I can 100% appreciate that, because I can understand that feeling that this isn't, life or death, and I don't want to be a nuisance. But the police have said numerous times at our meetings, we can't do anything if you don't call. That's our job. You know what I mean? We're not annoyed that you call and ask us to do our job. Please call. So if residents call and say they believe that the noise ordinance is being violated, by all means, it will be enforced.
Yep. And can you just make sure on how to file those report in case any ordinances are being violated, what the steps they would do to make sure to file any report regarding any of these violations?
Well, your first step would be anything that's a violation of the law. You would report by reporting to the police, particularly something that is of noise ordinance. The police would be the enforcement agency. We do have other ordinances, and that would be enforced by our code enforcement. Those wouldn't be more things like if somebody's grass is too high, you would contact code enforcement. But something like noise enforcement, the police should be your first step. Plus, the police is available 24 hours a day. Our borough office is closed at 4:30. So if it happens outside of the hours when noise ordinance is enforced, the borough's not going to be open. So you kind of have to start with the police.
Absolutely. And to that point regarding any potential ordinances in the town and everything, which Mayor Wardell and President Calhoun, would you guys be open to updating any ordinances, revisiting any ordinances as they pertain to anything involving the facility, or in general, I should say?
For my part, I believe that we should probably take a look at all the ordinances in town. I think there are a number of them that are out of date and or don't exist, and I think we should take a look at all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's actually, if people in the town, if they have a concern about an ordinance, whether they think it's outdated or it needs to be amended, any resident of Neptune City is legally, allowed to, and I believe it's your civic responsibility to ask to have those ordinances reviewed. If a request is put into review an ordinance, it is our responsibility then to review that ordinance. We have a law and ordinance committee. I know Mr. Calhoun chaired that in 2020. He was law and ordinance chair. The way government puts up here, that wouldn't be the responsibility of the mayor. I don't vote on ordinances. I don't make ordinances. I'm not the legislative branch of our governing body. That would fall on amongst our council to do so. I can offer advice and I can listen in, but ultimately that decision is made by the 6 members of council. So, I mean, absolutely, we have talked about it. I currently talked with our law and ordinance committee recently about the fact that, I don't think anybody's done a thorough, cleaning, for lack of a better word, of some of the ordinances. There are some really old and outdated ordinances that are on our books, and maybe some that could use some amendment. But again, that would leave that up to our legislative body to make those decisions. And of course, I'm available for any kind of counsel or advice that they so choose to ask.
Absolutely. And to the point of any ordinances and smells and all that, has the town inquired as to what materials are being used by the Nylabone facility?
Well, no, we've really had no cause to. If the agencies that do the inspections on business like TFH Nylabone, I know they're inspected by both state and federal agencies. And as far as I'm concerned, there haven't been any kind of violations of any type of harmful chemicals or anything that's dangerous to the environment that I'm aware of. So if we don't have any cause to be concerned, or there's no red flags being raised by those agencies, I don't think it would be responsible for us to go in and demand something that the Board of Health or the DEP doesn't seem to be concerned about.
Absolutely. And to that point, I just want to ask DEP, residents would like to be made aware of what fumes are coming from the Nylabone factory. And if possible, can you inform the public as to how you define these odors as either safe or non-toxic? And how would you monitor the safety levels of these fumes, if possible, if you could provide any guidance on that? Okay.
Sure. Hi, I'm Elizabeth Dragon. I'm the Assistant Commissioner for Community and Economic Development at DEP. We at DEP have review our odor concerns in regards when we receive a complaint. And those complaints, constituents and public, they can reach out to the NJDEP 24-hour toll-free hotline. which is 1877, Warren DEP, which equates to 927-6337. I'll put that in the chat for everyone. And additionally, when the department does when we receive a call, those complaints are answered by the department and augmented by the Monmouth County Health Department. So it's really important for the department to receive a phone call to have a lodged complaint for us to start that investigation process. Now, the department does do proactive odor investigations, but it's really important that if you're having an issue, we are able to understand who to go to and to get the information from you and to be able to look at the odors that are on your property. In regards to what we look for, we look at, is it unreasonably interfering with your enjoyment of life or property? And in making this determination, the department considers the character, severity, frequency, and duration of the odor, and the amount of individuals that are necessarily impacted by that particular odor.
Absolutely. And Senator, you like to add something?
Just a note real quick. I do want to thank the rest of the Neptune City Council is on. Council members Pamela Renee, Glenn Kosis, Daniel Pappas, Brian Thomas, and John Piccianuti. They're all been told they're all participating and they're listening to the back and forth, and hopefully we'll do their appropriate follow-up. And also we've had join us now Mike Fitzgerald, who's the Monmouth County Council will help on county related things. So I want to thank the County Council for joining.
Great. Thank you, Senator. And the next
Sure.
question, pardon me. Yes, Senator?
Yes. Before we get into too deep, I would just like to ask the mayor and council president a question.
Sure.
We this is Assemblyman Eric Hotelling, and I have a little bit of history over there. I used to live right across the street at 48 Merritt Avenue, so I'm kind of very familiar with that area. And but we spent a lot of time over there walking around, talking to the residents, and one of the things that they all say is we hear constantly that they spent a lot of money on upgrades to eliminate the odor, but yet they still have the odor. So I was wondering if you could make a comment on that, and that would help me out and probably a lot of the residents as well.
Sure, I'll answer that, Assemblyman. Well, one thing that TFH has never promised, they never said that what they did will ever eliminate the odor 100%. At no point have they ever said to our residents or to anybody in the governing body that our mediation attempts would ever completely get rid of the odor. So they've made attempts to try and limit the odor and try to do as best they can to try and get rid of the odor. Sometimes it's stronger than other days. A lot of times it depends on the weather. It seems recently, actually the last few weeks or so, I don't seem to be as bad, but during the summer, it seemed to be stronger at certain points here. One, I think the problems, and I think the DEP would probably agree with me on this here, is that since it's not a persistent, it tends to dissipate over a period of time, and a lot of times relatively quickly. A lot of it depends on when. It's very difficult for anybody to get in and gauge exactly when it happens. A lot of times a resident will make a call, and and when they make the call, the odor is quite pungent. And unfortunately, by the time that the call goes out to somebody and gets back, a lot of times that odor has either completely dissipated or has dissipated to a point that it's not as noticeable as it was before. And unfortunately, the people who have the authority to give some sort of fine or to write some sort of summons, they can't do it based on what they are immediately smelling. You have no doubt, and and I told my residents, we we believe, and this is what our frustration comes from. So it's almost a blessing and a curse. You don't want it to be persistent all the time, but because it's not persistent all the time, it's been very difficult to get accurate measurements. So I know this has been the frustration that all of us have had going on here. I do know that they said they have not stopped at least trying to mitigate. They're hoping to even make it even better. Anybody who lived in the town, and there's a few of us, I think that's called, lived in the town all the time. Remember, 10 years ago, it was far more pungent than it is today. Far more pungent. I mean, it was quite offensive. And not that it can't be at times, but it definitely isn't what it used to be. It's still not an acceptable level, right? But I do believe that they are trying to work on it. And that's why I'm kind of hoping we can find some. I really had wished TFH could have been on this meeting. I know they wanted to be on this meeting. I know the date didn't work for them. It would have been great if we could have found maybe another date that worked for all of us. If we have one in the future, fantastic. Because I think really, and I appreciate everybody being here. You know, I think without TFH being on this call, we're just getting a lot of, you know, suggestions, ideas without getting the answer from the source itself. So I'm hopeful that, you know, whether they are given these questions submitted or able to give us an answer that's, you know, satisfactory to everybody, or we can do this again with TFH on, I don't think we'll be able to get to any resolve today really without their participation.
Well, and honestly, I think we should aim for at least a quarterly meeting with these folks until there's resolution. I mean, I've always found it difficult to believe that we're dependent upon a guy to come down and do a smell test. Essentially, I can't believe that there's not some type of an electronic means to measure this on an ongoing basis. So I maybe want to ask the question of DEP or DOH. Is there something that exists that could measure a nuisance versus a potentially toxic smell and differentiate between the two? Does something like that exist?
So the department has emission limits, and if that's what you're referring to, the emission limits for this particular facility, and keeps, when we talk about odor, the department does not use any type of electronic device. We look at the character, we have special training that we go to, the inspectors are certified in odor investigations, and you know, that's why I kind of go back to, you know, they look at the duration, the frequency, the character in making those determinations.
Great.
Yeah,
Thank you
this
for
is Chris Merkel. Can you guys hear me?
We hear you, Chris.
Good afternoon, Mayor. Good afternoon, Senator, Assemblyman. Thanks for putting this together. Just wanted to piggyback off of what Deputy Commissioner Dragon said. We are, as everybody knows, we are the lead agency for NJDEP in Monmouth County. So the Deputy Commissioner is correct. We do not use any type of electronic monitoring device when we do an investigation, whether it's in regards to Nylabone or any odor complaint in the county. There's a methodical way that we do our investigation, and all our investigators are trained through Rutgers University for a specific odor class. So we look at intensity, duration. There is a way, or part of the investigation, I should say, is smelling the odor at the time of the investigation and coordinating with the complainant and using all that information to determine whether there is a violation at the time of the investigation. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And just want to note, we'll have probably time for at the end for panelist questions to ask. And but just we want to make sure we get to all the questions that were given to us by constituents. So just to go on that, the next question I have is for DEP and representatives from the town. Please feel free to join in as well. There were air permits that were issued in 2011. They expired in 2016. They were reapproved, and then additional 20 pieces of equipment were approved for those. What was the local expansion and use zoning application to match this? If you could provide any information, that would be greatly appreciated.
So just as in the way of when we're talking about land use zoning, the department is not able to answer those particular local questions. However, we do have permits that go back, 20 years on this particular site. Now, whether or not they're operating, they were approved to be operating. They currently have an approved general permit that was approved in December of 2020. It doesn't expire until 2023. So that means that their operation has been evaluated for particular permitting limits, and they are currently in compliance with that general permit.
If anyone from the town, Wardell, Council President Calhoun.
No,
So,
I think she answered the question. So.
Okay, great. So, and the next question I have, this is actually for,
Just Charlie, 1 second, just anyone, you know, if you could just, I know you guys are gonna do this with these respective constituents, if they're not, if the answers aren't satisfactory, let's just make sure we connect it with the respective department, see if we can get them followed through. Thanks.
certainly. Thank you, Senator. And the next question, this goes to the town. Have there been any consideration in creating an environmental commission or establishing a process to ensure that the impact on the environment will be taken into consideration, either from Nylabone, the Nylabone factory, or anything else for that matter?
There's absolutely no reason why we cannot form an environmental commission. I have no objections to an environmental commission. And you know, as a matter of fact, and this says, this didn't, I saw this question, it says for any future projects. You know, I do know that, you know, we're actually getting ready to start a redevelopment project that we have here in town. And I know that there are a number of steps to which they have to comply with the state in order to be, you know, sound environmentally. You know, there are a lot of checks and balances put in place here for environmental purposes. Anything we've done here in town with borough property, environmental concerns is always our first concerns. You know, we did work at our parks recently where we had to remove some of the trees on our property because they were old and they were ready to come down and could have been causing damage to both public and private property. You know, one of our first concerns was to make sure to replant those trees here. You know, we worried about potential runoff. I know Councilwoman Pappas, you know, held an Arbor Day celebration here in town to make sure that we replanted some of those trees in our parks here. So there's absolutely, that's actually one of our more important things here is make sure we are environmentally safe in anything we do moving forward.
It's my understanding that a environmental commission, as opposed to an environmental committee, would involve any number of people from the general public that would serve on it and would have a little bit more teeth in that it would have the ability to advise land use on some of these matters. So before we got down the road too far with something that might affect us in the future in an adverse way, like this issue is today, yeah, I'd be all in favor of that. I think that's something we should do right away, sooner rather than later.
Again, I have no objections to that. You know, if the council decides that that's an ordinance they want to create and vote on, and we'll have no objections from me.
Great. And the next question, could be for the DEP and the Board of Health, and if anyone from the town would like to join in to answer this as well, please. The big question most people have, residents have, is regarding the odors and the scent coming from the factory. If you could provide, are there any harmful effects to people, especially, you know, people are concerned, you know, children, the elderly, from breathing in these fumes that are coming from the facility? And if anybody, either the DEP, the Board of Health, and the township, if you'd like to add any information for that.
So I can add a little bit of information on this. You know, the department's emission limits are protective of human health and the environment. So NJDEP inspects the facilities to ensure compliance with those permitted levels. But as I mentioned, we have currently found that facility is in compliance with those emission limits.
Okay.
Just to follow up on that, Assistant Commissioner, is there anything, because we have had a number of residents just concerned on health, and this isn't uncommon. We went through this at the Reclamation Center too. If there's anything DEP could consider just putting out again for consideration, so even a one-page flyer or something, just to help some of the residents, just so they understand exactly what's going in, and just to give them some confidence, because that's the one thing that does come up for your consideration.
And just to piggyback on what the senator said there, one of the biggest concerns that my residents put forward is they're concerned that that odor maybe includes some sort of chemical they're breathing in that is dangerous. Does the DEP or Board of Health have any reason to believe that there's dangerous or harmful chemicals being released with these odors?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. The thing that I can say is the DEP does not quantify or assess health impacts. What we do is we have limits that are protective of the environment and the public health, and then we establish our permits on that. So we are not assessing those. We don't. That is not something that is it's a permitted level. I don't know if that.
Right. So when they're inspected and they're in compliance, there's nothing that would lead the DEP to believe that what they're doing is harmful to the environment or the people surrounding it.
From the Department of Environmental Protection standpoint, yes.
So who is Assistant Commissioner? Is it the County Health or the State Department of Health? Who is assessing to make sure the chemicals or whatever is in the air is not harmful to anyone?
So Senator, this is Chris Merkel. Good afternoon. Good to
Hi,
see you.
Chris.
So we do assess as the assistant. The local county health department does not assess what's going on in the facility itself. The county health department does not permit these types of facilities. Our main role, as most people know by now, is to enforce the NJDEP environmental regulations. And our main role here is to respond in a timely manner to odor complaints. So we go out and as I said before, we go out and our licensed certified inspectors go out and evaluate the odors when there is a citizen complaint and determine whether there is a violation as per the state air pollution control regulations and JAC 7:27 subchapter 5, which is the odors, the odor subchapter. So that's our main role.
So Chris, can you help me here? And again, this is going to be a longer part conversation. How do we give confidence to the residents of Neptune City that they are not in the chemicals or whatever's in the air? I heard you and the assistant commissioner that you're going by the law on what the emissions. Do we need to engage the Department of Health? Who do we need to engage? Because overall, it's, we want to make sure the residents feel confident. Right now, just looking at the chat room, they don't.
So I don't want to speak for the deputy commissioner, but it would probably have to be an agency that permits that facility and knows what chemicals or what permitted chemicals are within that facility. My group and I do not know that, so I can't speak to that.
Senator Michael Fitzgerald, can I jump in for a second?
Of course.
Thank you, and I thank you for putting this together, and I thank your assembly persons, and also I want to take a second to thank the mayor. He's obviously on the ground and has been very communicative with the county on behalf of his residents. And as many of you know, the county commissioner director is a resident of Neptune City, so this is something that's that he is aware of and the commissioner is aware of, and they apologize for not being here, but. At your request, Senator, I will certainly reach out to find out whether there's, for lack of a better word, larger agencies or federal agencies that may have input into what products are being used or going into the facility, and find out, what, if anything, there is there that's that may come out of the facility that would directly affect the residents. As far as we know, the production is for making edible toys and other things for animals. So that seems to be their focus. But I certainly think that it's a legitimate question to ask. Who else may be watching, for lack of a better word, the store on what goes into the facility, and we'll certainly follow up on that.
And nothing against everyone here. Everyone's working hard. Thank you, Mike, and everyone's doing a great job. But this is clearly the most concerning part of this forum so far, is that none of the agencies on here. On the health piece, that's a little concerning. And I understand the emissions level of following the law, so we will do what we can internally and recollect to everyone to try to push this as quickly as possible, whether it be Department of Health, whether the state, and see, the residents at the minimum need to know what is in the air if they're smelling that, and that lack of clarity is a little concerning all the way around. So maybe Assistant Commissioner Dragon and everybody else, we can work together and try to figure out what state agency we can include, just to try to give the residents confidence if it's possible.
Sure, from the county's perspective, we're more than happy to do that, and if necessary, include a federal legislative representative to see where their involvement may be beneficial to the residents. Certainly a good point.
That'd be great, and we're going to move first thing tomorrow morning and start that process, and we will include everybody on this panel on that email, because that is pretty alarming. I was hoping we would get that answer today.
Thank you, everybody. And the next question, just to piggyback off that to a degree, is in order for a resident to properly file a complaint, what is the proper avenues, either through the town or through the DEP, and to escalate it through to make sure they can properly file a complaint, their voices are heard, and their concerns are being addressed if possible? For anyone from the DEP, the Board of Health, town.
Sure. As I mentioned before, call the DEP hotline. Another place of information that I'll put in the chat right now is the DEP's odor fact sheet. And I think it'll answer some of the questions regarding inspections. I also would want to, the permits that the facilities have are, that particular data that's associated with, our authority is available through the Open Public Records Act. So, that is also another area for consideration as we move forward.
Great.
Does that answer your question, Charlie?
Yes. And just a few more questions, and now just in the interest of time as well. So this is for the town council, Mayor Wardell or Council President Calhoun, if you could possibly answer this. When has the town, the process for the town for Nylabone, when were they being allowed to manufacture plastics and storing of plastics? Do you know when that began? If you could provide any background information on that if possible.
Can you repeat?
Sure.
I'm sorry. I think I may have misheard that question. You just say it again, Charlie?
So Nylabone is allowed to manufacture products using plastics. Can you provide any guidance on when that was allowed to happen, if at all, or if that's not the case, if you can address those concerns?
I don't really want to speak to that because I'm not aware that they are manufacturing any plastics. I mean, they may have plastics in their facilities, but so I don't want, I'd rather not speak that. I'd rather Nylabone speak that. I'm not aware that they're manufacturing plastic. They may use plastic, but I don't think they're manufacturing plastic.
Okay.
I do know that the dog ones they make are edible, and I don't think the FDA would allow you to put plastic in edible dog treats. But again, that's just my opinion. But I'm not aware that there's any plastic being manufactured.
Yep. And if anyone from DEP or the Board of Health would like to add to that, if they have any information to share as well about that.
I would agree with the mayor. We do not manufacturing of plastics is not what we have as their operating permit.
From the county's perspective, similar answer, Charlie.
Thank you. And this question is for DEP, and it's more kind of an open question too. What steps going forward will be taking to work with Neptune City, the Board of Health, to ensure that the issues that the residents have will be resolved and will continue to be addressed?
So this is Chris. From the Board of Health perspective, we take all complaints and concerns very seriously. We've spoken to a number of the town's residents in terms of their concerns. We continue to work with them, the mayor, the council, and DEP to make sure that the citizens' concerns surrounding this are addressed. So we talk to the citizens a lot in terms of this concern. So we totally understand their concern and continue to work with them.
Can I add to that? I'm sorry, Rochelle Wormley here. First, I want to thank Chris Merkel on behalf of the DEP, because as an authorized agent for the DEP, we heavily rely on them to conduct our odor investigations, as we are located in Trenton and they're in closer proximity. But Chris, I want to thank you. But moving forward, everyone needs to continue to call the DEP hotline so that we are aware of what's going on. Because when we don't hear of anything, we think that everything is okay. So it's very important that everyone calls into us, the citizens call into the DEP and let us know what's going on. That's how we'll continue to know that there's issues going on here.
Yes, thank you, Rochelle. Nice to see you. So I agree with Rochelle. We do encourage all the residents who have concerns to contact the 877 Warren DEP hotline, because that way the department and Monmouth County Health Department and JDEP have a record of how many calls, what time they're calling in, and it's a good way to have a list and a log of the concerns and the specific information. So yes, we do agree, and I do agree with the department in encouraging the residents of Neptune to contact the DEP hotline. It's a good way for us to monitor how many calls are coming in, because if we get a lot of calls at once, then we recognize there may be an issue at the plant, and that way we can respond in a timely manner.
And if you could just add to that, Chris, if possible, and DEP as well, have you looked at any of the complaints, and have you found any specific findings regarding the complaints at all regarding this?
Yes, the department and Chris, do you want to go ahead and take that one? Because I do know you have a little bit more interactiveness with that.
You can go ahead, and then I'll follow after. Thanks.
Okay. The department works with Monmouth County Health Department on all of our complaints. So, Monmouth County, Chris can probably jump in here, but they have issued previously to, 2019, 2020, there were violations that were issued for odor. So the calls, like Rochelle said, really calling the department, making sure that we have the notification and being able to be responsive to those concerns is so important to us. Additionally, I would say we've also used the information collected to proactively investigate the concerns. So we've looked at the weather data, we've looked at when we may be able to go out into the field and be in the surroundings so that when the calls come in, we can immediately go to where they may be coming from. So the department has been proactive in using that information also as it comes into the department, as well as that Monmouth County has taken action in regards to odors.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. So yes, just to follow up what the Deputy Commissioner said, there have been verified complaints, and we have worked with the facility to rectify those concerns. We do a lot of what's called odor surveys at the request of DEP to evaluate the conditions within the neighborhood at random times. We've done that with other situations in the county. So we appreciate the support of NJDEP, and we continue to be very proactive on this particular issue.
Hey, Chris, sometimes I'm hearing from constituents that it could take, days, hours, sometimes not overnight or weekends. What's usually the time frame on a response?
So thank you, Senator. So we have a 24-hour duty officer. So we respond to complaints as quickly as possible. So it certainly does not take days to get out there. I can assure you of that. The process is, and Rochelle and Commissioner, please chime in if you want. So usually the process is a complaint goes into the DEP hotline. The department triages those calls, and sometimes they contact the individual, and sometimes they contact us to do an on-site investigation. Again, we are agents of the DEP, so we work with them and we work under our contractual obligation with them. But sometimes they will call the individual and walk them through their complaint and their concern. And if it is forwarded to us, then we get out there in a timely manner. We have people in the county, and we have on-call individuals that get out to the site as quickly as possible. Now, sometimes they don't get out as quickly as the complainants would like, but certainly we get out as quickly as we can.
So Chris, could you just estimate on app, if the residents on here, if they file a complaint, what's the longest it should take before they get somebody out?
So our goal, Senator, is to get out to and investigate a complaint within the hour. From the time that we're notified.
And that includes on Saturdays and Sundays too?
Absolutely. Yeah. If DEP contacts us and says go out and do an investigation, then we get out quickly within the hour to get out there.
Okay, thanks. And if that for any reason is not happening, would you mind? We'll ask the constituents just to reach out to you at the county office, or who should they reach out to if for any reason it's going 6, 7, 8 hours?
Yeah, so that they can contact the office. They can ask for me or my environmental health coordinator, who handles a lot of these complaints and situations. His name is Alan Fortier. I know a lot of the constituents in Neptune have talked to Alan.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Chris, very much. And just on the other point, I am messaging with the governor's office about trying to do a public health assessment. So I'm going to work with the mayor and council on trying to figure out how we can go about having the state do that just on the prior issue. We'll engage Department of Health and we'll make sure everyone's in the loop. Charlie.
Absolutely. And this is just the last question. And obviously, if we didn't get to any of your questions as well, I'd like to reiterate that you can please email us at help@njld11.com, and we'll make sure to answer any questions you may have concerning this, and we'll provide you to the proper resources.
Charlie, I'm sorry to do this. Can I just to stick on that other issue? It's just a good point that was raised.
Sure.
For DEP, how long does it take you to send the complaint over to the Monmouth County Department of Health relatively once you get it?
Basically, a complaint comes into our Trenton dispatch notification, and we're pretty prompt with it. We rely on the Monmouth County Health Department because, as I said, they're closer to the situation. I think my closest inspector is in excess of an hour away. Again, emphasizing, Senator, that we conduct an investigation, whether it be a phone call or in the field, for every single complaint that comes in. So even if someone does not see someone at their door, at some point there is contact made. But we do try to respond quickly, I would say within 15 minutes of getting the incident from Trenton Dispatch. Something else I wanted to note, the mayor had indicated he's understanding that odors, with the definition of odors, every odor does not necessarily result in a violation. I want everybody to understand that. I think the mayor touched on it. Sometimes the odors waffle in, they waffle out. That's not necessarily an actionable odor, but I want people to understand that an odor in itself is not necessarily a violation. That's why we need the citizens to call in, allow the investigator time to make an inspection. And as the mayor indicated, sometimes it's like the odor's there, sometimes it's not. That's not necessarily an actionable odor. I know everyone doesn't want to hear that, but that's the reality of this.
Thank you, Rochelle. And to that point, I just want to add, again, just to conclude here, I'm going to open this up to the panel. Residents have proposed solutions to these issues, such as task force, commissions, ordinances, et cetera. What are the solutions that everyone here on this panel can propose for this, if any?
Well, I think all agencies have to work together. And I think most importantly, we need to have, I think, the principal player involved here also in Nylabone themselves part of this discussion. I think we've heard, a lot of things today, and I'm sure maybe our residents are going to walk away probably equally as frustrated as they were when they came in here, unfortunately, as I am as well. But I think if we can keep this line of communication open, and again, I can't stress, if we can get TFH to be part of this, which I know they said they wanted to. On the emails, they said they're very much interested in being part of this here. I think that's really the only way we can get to any kind of reasonable solution on here, because I think they have to be part of this, because as the DEP has stated already, the Board of Health, from everything from their end shows compliance. So it makes it difficult to do anything from a legal standpoint when they're in compliance and everything. It can look as if though you are targeting a specific business. But I think if they understand that everybody here is aware of this, that this issue is not just going to go away, that the residents aren't going to stop complaining, that we can hope that we can almost, kind of force their hand into saying, you need to act on this. Maybe you can say that you are legally operating, but what we're telling you is that you have become a public nuisance and that it needs to be addressed. I think it's probably going to be our best effort, is doing this as a concerted effort.
Thank you, Mayor. And I want to thank everyone for participating. I agree with the mayor that you might have some people frustrated, as I am too. And we are going to do this again. Nylabone did not have availability for the month of October, and because of the number of constituents reaching out, we had to get this done. They are more than willing to participate after the month of October. So we're going to look for a date, November, hopefully November, hopefully it's not December. I know the holidays are coming up. I just didn't want to lose all of our DEP folks, because I know they're going to be getting pulled in different ways. I think we need to get the Department of Health engaged here. The most alarming thing I've heard here is on just confidence on the public health to make sure there's nothing in the air. I think we need to get the State Department of Health. I wish they were on here, but I think we have to get them engaged here and at least bring some confidence to residents on that. And Nylabone has been receptive, and as far as, at least with me, I'm not going to speak for anyone else. They've been receptive. They understand that folks are concerned. So we will get there. And this is going to be the first of many dialogues and public forums. And we are going to hopefully do this again in November, hopefully have a few more partners at the table. In the meantime, on my end, I'm going to reach out to the mayor and council tomorrow morning about starting that process for a public health assessment. Assembly members, Hoteling Down, we're committed. If there is any state funding resources that you need, if that public health assessment costs anything, we will do our part. But for more than anything, I know if I had that owner next to me, I'd probably be as equally as frustrated as some of the folks on this listening in right now. But appreciate all of you being here on a tight timeline, especially the mayor, council president, Mike Fitzgerald, Chris Merkel, and all the DEP folks, Assistant Commissioner Dragon. Thank you all very, very much for making time and doing all this. But I do know while we're frustrated, we did all, I think, learned a lot here, and there's a lot we need to do, a lot of things we need to do in the weeks and months ahead. So thank you.
And Senator, if I just could, I'd also like to thank everybody involved here. This has been something we've been asking for here in this town for a while. It's been very frustrating from my standpoint, and I'm sure Mr. Calhoun can reiterate. We're very frustrated here as a governing body. It's very frustrating when you can't bring the help to your residents you want to, and it's so wonderful the opportunity to have the state come in here, the DEP, the Board of Health, Senator, Assemblywoman, Assemblyman, coming in here, the county as well. This was a great start, and I hope we can continue to do this, because I think we all want the same end goal. So again, I really appreciate this, and I look forward to meeting again in the future.
Yes, I do as well. And it's a quality of life issue for our residents at this point. I mean, it may not rise to the level, at the end of the day, it may not be found to rise to the level of anything that's harmful, but it certainly is a nuisance, and it certainly is unpleasant. So it's something that's got to be addressed.
Thank you. Assemblyman Hoteling, Assemblywoman Downey, is there anything you guys would like to add?
I just want to thank everyone for being on here. I appreciate everyone coming together to do this and listen. And, honestly, for the residents to come out and ask the questions, I think it's so important. Thank you so much for bringing this to our attention. Thank you to DEP. Thank you to the county. Thank you to Mayor Wardell and the council president, Calhoun, and all the people who are on here from the council, to our team for getting this together. But I promise you, as Senator Gopal had said, we're going to look into it. We're going to make sure we engage with the Department of Health, and we will make sure that we will figure this out together. So thank you very much, everyone. It's concerning to me as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was just glad that we could get everybody together here to discuss this. I know the history of Nylabone, and they are a great community partner, but you know what? The quality of life is a major issue. And I think that's the point of what we're trying to get to. So, the residents that live around there, they have to endure a lot. And I think that we have responsibility to do all that we can to relieve that. And also keeping in mind that Nylabone is, probably the largest taxpayer in Neptune City. So there's a lot of things that come into play, but, I think working together, we can get to where we need to go.
Thank you, Simon. And before we wrap up, anyone from DEP, Christopher, Elizabeth, Rochelle, again, thank you guys, and Carrie as well. Anybody would like to add anything as well before we conclude? And thank you again for joining us. We really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having us, and we hope to be part of the future conversations.
Thank you. And also just Mike Fitzgerald, maybe Mike, we can engage, because I know the county has gone through a lot of this with the reclamation center. You have the mutual aid product, you had a lot of different things. And I know you guys have done a good job now on getting to where we got it, especially on the communication end. So maybe some of the folks that helped on that, and we can try to engage them here too.
More than happy to do that. The mayor's been proactive in reaching out to the county, and we welcome the involvement and the expertise that we've gained. We're more than happy to share.
Thank you, everybody.
And this is Chris. I echo council sentiments. We're here to help in any way we can. The mayor has me on speed dial. We talk all the time about this particular situation. So certainly the county health department is here as a community partner to help in any way we can. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. And yes, that concludes this Q&A session. If you're not able to send in questions before the event, or if any questions were not answered, do not fret. We're going to be creating a FAQ when we get the answers to the questions that have been given to us. Please allow us some time to gather the answers so we can provide you with most accurate, up-to-date information. But we will work to make sure that all the questions that have been asked will be answered. Again, I'd like to thank everybody that joined us, Senator Gopal, some members of Telling and Downey, and our colleagues at DEP, Mayor Wardell, Council President Calhoun, and everyone else who joined on the panel. We really greatly appreciate your time. And again, if you have any questions regarding this, please contact us, help@njld11.com. Again, that's help@njl11.com. And we'll try to answer, provide you the resources, answer any questions you may have, and work with you to resolve this issue. This is going to be a continuing conversation, and we'd like to thank everybody again for their time today. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank
Have a
you.
great day.
Thank you.